there is a huge mistake that doctors make in trying to get new patients into their clinic. Say, Bob, we need new patients. We need more patients into our clinic. And my first reaction is that's a mistake. Because your current funnel is broken, is leaky. And so you've got all these patients already in your clinic and you're not optimizing them. You're not optimizing them. So what typically doctors end up doing is spending a lot of money on ads and external marketing, which is, SEO, some marketing agencies, they just SEO and some branding work, their new website, and they start doing ads on Meta and on Google. And what typically happens is, you get, maybe 5% of real qualified leads. And then they come in and then you can't convert them. So the biggest problem in trying to get new patients is the doctor, is you. It's you who has this mindset of give me more from the outside into my clinic. And what I will tell you is that's a mistake. Unless you've completely optimized your internal marketing and completely squeezed the juice out of your current EHR, your clinic, your patient base, then you're wasting money. So you need to do that. So what I think we should be doing instead of trying to do more ads externally, especially if you're pivoting your part of your practice to specialty care, is to maximize and optimize your EHR list. You have buried treasure, thousands of patients in your EHR. And what happens is we haven't retargeted them. We haven't monetized a lot of them. Some of them haven't seen you in a few years, right? Post-COVID, a lot of patients didn't come back. They stayed home, they went somewhere else, they moved, I don't know. So what we must do is really look at your EHR and say, okay, let me identify this segment. A lot of, the other big mistake a lot of doctors make in looking at their EHR is that we'll just do a blast. Blast. Let's spray and pray. Spray and pray. Let's just put out a constant contact, a MailChimp newsletter and say to patients, we offer all of this stuff. And you know what? Let's hope they come in. Let's hope they come in. Hope is not a strategy, folks. Hope is not a strategy. What we've got to do is to segment. And what I mean by that is look at the very specific ICD-10 code in your EHR of the ideal customer profile, the patient that you want to target. So in eye care, it's dry eyes, for an example, right? Dry eyes. So you've made the diagnosis and you've seen thousands of patients over the years. And so just do a report of all the patients who have this particular ICD-10 code of dry eye disease, for example, right? You do that. And then you identify who's actually signed up with you for the treatment, who haven't. Okay. Once you do that, then okay, well, the ones you haven't, let's say 90% have not, but you've got a robust list of patients you already have acquired. Here's the key lesson. Customer acquisition is very expensive. Patient acquisition is very expensive. But you already have patients in your system. It costs you zero. It costs you zero. So the expense to market to this current list that you've already earned this list over the last few years is zero. So what you want to do is to retarget those patients who love you already. And the way you do that is you make the list, you segment, you make the list, and then you reach out to them. But there's the other thing. When you reach out to them, you can't just push a solution because you haven't seen them in a while, right? They're not there waiting for you to magically deliver a solution. So never push a treatment or a solution on those retargeting patients. So what you want to do is retarget those patients that haven't seen you in a while. And so, for example, one of the things we've done and is create what we call a saw you a while ago campaign. In my wife's clinic, we did this, which is she had all these patients. She had like 1,800 patients that she hadn't seen who had this problem, right, of dry eyes. And we pulled that list and then we sent them a sequence of 3 videos, 3 messages, okay, over the course of 10 days, right? And we started with, hi, It's Dr. Bob. Saw you a while ago, and we talked about dry eyes that you taught that in our office, in your visit, a little while ago. And what I want to do is I want to share with you what might be going on with dry eyes. And so check out this video. This explains what is dry eyes. Very simple. What is dry eyes? You're not pushing a solution. You're informing and educating about the problem. And so that drip campaign, that sequence goes out over a course of a week or 10 days. And what happens is it reminds patients that you exist in a thoughtful way. And so it's really important. The algorithm really is important. Is you start with the first video of saw you a while ago. Check out this video about what is dry eye disease. The second message is, hey, want to talk to you about, want to share this video about what happens if you do nothing. Okay. It's just going to get worse and you might be feeling symptoms and this might be the issue. And then finally, the third video is, hey, I just wanted to kind of remind you, here's some potential solutions. But we really need to have you come in to talk about some of those solutions. If you have this problem and do you think this problem is getting worse, or if you're concerned about it, come talk to me. Okay. Hope this has been helpful. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And by the way, here's a booking calendar link. So what that does is it primes and educates the patient so that they see you as an expert. And so let's zoom out here. Let's zoom out. What have we done? What have we done? We haven't done anything except to retarget those patients. The result, by the way, talk about the result. What happened, Bob? What happened with those 1,800 patients, right? And so we ran this campaign in my wife's clinic. We ran it with another clinic as well. I'll give you the other clinic's example as well. I'll give you my wife's example, which is that 1,800 patients were sent all of this new set of a new campaign, retargeting campaign. Of those, 50% did nothing. 50% did nothing. Okay. And of those, 20% said, hey, this, or opted out, or said, this is not relevant for me. Okay. Then we had about another maybe 30, probably less than that, probably about 20%. Okay. 20% that said, oh, I'd like to come in for an appointment or something or other. They came in for an appointment. And of those, we had 1 or 2% of those people sign up for the dry eye treatment. Okay. And so 1 or 2% ended up being I think it was like 20 people. I can't remember, 20 patients, but it was like 20 patients signed up for the treatment. So all you did was to retarget the patients that already like you, love you, part of your practice. Okay. You didn't have to go out and acquire them, right? And then we ran a campaign, which is a thoughtful campaign. You're giving them value. You're educating them. You're not pushing a solution. You're informing and educating so they're compelled to come in to see you. That's the difference. That's a big difference is what we don't want is to push people. We want to be a magnet and attract our patients, right? And the way you do that is you give them value, educate them about their problem. That's really important. You got to educate them about their own problem, right? And so that is the real secret that marketing agencies and marketing gurus won't tell you is that you think, oh, I need to go outside of my practice. I need to bring in more patients. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be days that, yes, you need to do that. But the first thing you must do is to optimize the funnel that you have. You must squeeze the juice out of what you already have, which is a very powerful asset, which is you've got a robust list, email addresses and phone numbers in your EHR. You just got to pull that report. And I know it's like, oh my God, I got to pull a report. Yeah, no, it's a big deal. You want the business or not? Like our doctor's like, oh, I got to pull a report. I know it's a button or two. I get it. But, I know what you're doing is thinking about like, oh, I've got to see more patients. I've got to see more patients. I've got to see more patients. That's not the answer to a successful business. That's not the answer to a successful medical practice. It's just to constantly see more patients. That's a hamster wheel problem, right? You can see more patients for $30 or $80 or whatever. You could see 100 patients for, for $30 or $30 is $100, whatever, versus seeing a fewer patients for $3,000. That is powerful. That is a business. That is a scalable, high value business. You become an expert when you do that. So I just want to remind you today, it's really important to consider that when you're thinking outside, give me more patients, Bob, give me more patients in. It's cheaper. it's more effective to focus on the patients you already have on your list, which is in the EHR. The EHR is a source of so much opportunity and untapped revenue, and we mistake it for just a database of patients. It's buried treasure. And I want to remind you that you've got to go to the buried treasure first and optimize that. And once you do that really well, okay, you're gonna and without with zero expense, the profitability is huge. The profitability in having a list and marketing to that list and squeezing more juice out of the list is massive. The margins are so ridiculous in that. And you're not just burning cash. And then a lot of times the leads you get, right? Once you get the, by the way, once you optimize your current internal marketing system, right, and squeezing that juice out of that list, you're going to be better at the leads that you do bring in. You're not going to have a leaky funnel. And leaky funnels are just such a waste of opportunity. I've seen a doctor who spent, like hundreds of thousands of dollars doing external marketing. And he was so busy. He was so busy. But when we looked at his numbers, actually his profitability was so low because he spent a lot of money doing marketing. And so many of those leads were unqualified, bots and spam, all this nonsense that came through. And then he was so busy getting patients in, his staff weren't able to keep up and really didn't give them a good experience. So they didn't convert. They didn't convert. He was bringing all these leads in, but they weren't converting. They weren't buying. They were just doing these consults, these valuations, and they were not doing it. So I just want to remind you today, by the way. All right, so as we close here, I just want to remind you some quick tips here. When you want more patients in, you need to think about what patients you already have and retarget them, and you market to them. Go to your EHR, get the list, down segment, and then figure out a campaign that goes to them and strategically, and shoot some video content. Video is really powerful, by the way, right? Video is super, super powerful. And so drip that video content over the course of a week, but really having very specific value education to them and a call to action at the end. And so it's really important to get your funnel, to plug the leaks in your funnel if you really want to grow. So this is Bob Miglani. If you like what I've shared here, like and subscribe to our channel. And if you have questions, and if you want to learn more about how you can optimize your funnel, I'm gonna just put in the notes, put in the chat here, put in the put in the thread here saying optimize. Okay, just put in here optimize, and I'll send you some material to teach you how to optimize your funnel. This is Bob Miglani. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.